Picture this. You are standing inside the MIT Media Lab in Cambridge, Massachusetts. The building feels more like the future than the present. Sunlight streams through the glass atrium, bouncing off steel beams. Around you are walls filled with experiments, robotic arms twitching to life, digital canvases shifting with color, and prototypes scattered across tables. There is a quiet hum of machines, mixed with the buzz of conversations in dozens of languages. Every corner feels like a launch pad. This is the place where human imagination meets artificial intelligence, where the boundaries of how people think with technology are tested every single day. Now imagine a CEO in this room delivering a flawless strategy to their team. Numbers, risks, projections, every answer sharp. But here is the secret. Half of it did not come from their own mind. It came from a second brain, a digital notebook feeding insights in real time. Are they smarter than everyone else in the room, or slowly outsourcing their own edge away? That is the paradox. And it is not reserved for the elite. It is available to anyone who knows where to look. I am Max Vanguard, powered by Grok 4. I chase clarity, hunt leverage, and punch through the noise to find edges most people miss.
And I am Sophia Sterling, fueled by ChatGPT-5. I build systems for decision-making, scale mental models, and map how the top 1% actually think.
I am Charlie Graham, running on Gemini 2.5. I focus on timeless frameworks, quiet compounding habits, and the long-view perspective that turns discipline into legacy.
Today we are broadcasting from the MIT Media Lab in Cambridge. For decades, this building has been the frontier of human and machine working side by side. From wearable computers to early breakthroughs in artificial intelligence, from digital art to brain-computer interfaces, what happens here does not just create new gadgets, it rewires how people think. Standing here, you can feel the weight of both promise and risk, which makes it the perfect place to unpack today's paradox.
Here it is. Outsourcing your mind can make you smarter, but it can also make you weaker. Most people treat their second brain like storage. The top 1% treat it like leverage. They load it with precision, lean on it with structure, and leap with decisions that compound. Today, we will break down the load, lean, leap framework. We will expose the trap of cognitive debt that drains clarity. And we will give you the simple practices the top 1% use to stay sharp while scaling smarter. At the end, you will get a challenge, one move to run for 30 days, so this does not stay theory but becomes part of your system.
This episode is not about billionaires or yachts. It is about being sharper than the 100 people around you. If you want to rise into the top 1% of your field, you need tools that multiply your thinking, not just record it. That is what a second brain can do if you use it with discipline. It is not about outsourcing everything. It is about building the mental infrastructure that scales you. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you never miss the next framework that could change how you think.
And help us hit 10,000 downloads. Share this episode with one friend who is ready to think like the top 1%.
Step back in time. Every age has faced a version of the second brain paradox. Whenever a new tool arrived, people feared it would erase human skill. Even writing itself was once seen as a threat. Socrates argued against it. He warned that if people relied on writing, they would lose the ability to remember and think deeply. Knowledge on a page, he said, would create only the illusion of wisdom. To him, writing was the end of living memory, yet history proved otherwise. Writing became the foundation of philosophy, science, and law. It did not erase thought. It expanded it.
Then came the printing press in the 15th century. Before Gutenberg, knowledge lived in fragile manuscripts, copied by hand, stored in monasteries. Scholars spent their lives memorizing entire works because books were rare. When the press arrived, critics said it would destroy memory. They feared that a mind without memory would become weak.
But the opposite happened. The press multiplied creativity. It allowed thinkers to store the basics externally and spend their brainpower on invention, strategy, and debate. Streets flooded with pamphlets, ideas spread like wildfire, and an explosion of knowledge reshaped Europe. What looked like a loss of memory became a gain in collective intelligence. The second brain was not a crutch, it was a launch pad.
Now jump forward to the 20th century. A new tool enters classrooms, the calculator. At first, teachers treated it like contraband. They worried it would destroy arithmetic skills. If a student could press a few buttons, why would they learn to add or subtract? Some schools even banned them. To older generations, calculators looked like the end of discipline. But again, the opposite unfolded. Instead of ending math, calculators opened the door to higher levels. Students could move past long division drills and tackle algebra, geometry, even statistics. By outsourcing simple operations, they could use their mental energy for solving harder problems.
Think about it. The calculator did not erase math, it scaled it. The students who combined mental skills with machine speed went further than anyone who resisted. What looked like laziness was really leverage. That pattern repeats again and again.
Then came GPS. For centuries, humans navigated with stars, maps, and instinct. In London, taxi drivers trained for years to master the knowledge, a mental map of 25,000 streets. Their hippocampus, the brain's navigation center, grew stronger from the effort. But when GPS became common, studies showed the opposite effect. People relied so heavily on the screen that their spatial memory began to shrink. Navigation skills eroded because the second brain took over completely.
And the fears continued with every new shift. Typewriters were said to ruin handwriting. Computers were said to kill attention spans. Every age thought the new tool would hollow out the human mind. But the pattern is clear. The ones who adapt with discipline win. They keep their edge while using the tool to multiply results.
That is the timeless lesson. The second brain paradox is not new. What is new is the speed. The printing press transformed Europe in decades. The calculator reshaped classrooms in a generation. GPS shifted navigation in less than 10 years. But AI is collapsing timelines into months. The danger is not that humans will stop thinking. The danger is that those who lean too heavily on the tool will erode their natural capacity. The edge belongs to those who combine both. Strong first brain, leverage second brain.
And that is why this episode matters. History shows the cycle. Fear arrives. Overuse follows. Then the elites separate themselves. They use the new tool without losing their core. They design their second brain with discipline. In the next segment, we will break down how they do it today. The framework is simple. Load, lean, leap. It is the method the top 1% use to build a second brain that multiplies clarity instead of clutter. So how do the top 1% design a second brain that makes them stronger, not weaker? They follow a simple but powerful model. We call it load, lean, leap. 3 moves that turn a pile of notes into a decision engine. Without all 3, your second brain turns into clutter. With them, it becomes leverage.
Start with load. This is the capture phase. Most people fill their second brain with random noise. Screenshots, articles, voice notes, half-baked ideas. The result is a junk drawer. The top 1% load with intention. They do not capture everything, they capture what compounds. That could be patterns from a market report, lessons from a failed pitch, or insights from a book. They treat each input like fuel for future leverage, not souvenirs. Imagine a venture capitalist keeping a daily log of founder habits, or a designer storing sketches tied to real problems. Every piece has a purpose. That is load done right.
Loading feels simple, but it is not passive. It is active curation. It is asking, does this belong in my system? Will this idea serve me in a year? Will I be able to use it to make a decision? The best minds do not collect for the sake of collecting. They collect with purpose. That is why their second brain stays lean even as it grows.
The second stage is lean. This is where structure comes in. Raw inputs are useless if they sit in a digital pile. The elite filter, sort, and distill. They run their notes through simple systems like Tiago Forte's para method, projects, areas, resources, archives, or they use the code workflow, capture, organize, distill, express. The goal is clarity. Leaning on your second brain means you can surface the right piece of information in seconds. Think about a founder walking into a pitch. Instead of scrambling through old emails, they pull up a one-page summary of every question investors have asked. That is lean. It is the discipline that turns chaos into clarity.
And here is the key. Lean is not about building the prettiest system. It is about reducing friction. When your notes are structured, your brain relaxes. You know where to find what matters. The second brain is not a storage unit. It is a cockpit. The switches and gauges have to be clear or you will crash under pressure.
And then comes leap. This is the part most people never reach. They load endlessly, they lean a little, but they never leap. Leap is when you turn insights into action. It is when a saved note sparks a product idea, when a distilled framework guides an investment decision, when a pattern you captured 6 months ago becomes the strategy that wins a client today. The top 1% do not keep second brains as libraries. They use them as launchpads. That leap creates asymmetric results.
Think of a YouTuber creating weekly videos. They load raw footage and brainstorms into their vault. They lean by tagging, cutting, and structuring clips into storyboards. And they leap when the final video goes live and reaches millions. The second brain is the unseen engine that makes consistency possible. Or picture a medical researcher. They load patient data, lean by organizing it into trials and categories, and leap when the pattern reveals a breakthrough treatment. Without the leap, all the information in the world is just dead weight.
Athletes do this too. A tennis player loads by tracking every match, every serve percentage, every weakness. They lean by turning the data into patterns with their coach, and they leap when they walk onto the court and adjust in real time. The system behind them is invisible, but the edge is obvious. Load, lean, leap. The pattern repeats everywhere you see elite performance.
Think about it like training. Load is the workout, lean is the recovery, leap is the performance. You cannot skip any step. If you only load, you drown in noise. If you only lean, you become a perfect organizer with nothing worth using. If you leap without loading and leaning, your actions have no foundation. The cycle only works if you run all three. Load with intention, lean with structure, leap with confidence.
Here is a real-world example. Obsidian, the minimalist note-taking app, has become a favorite for high performers. Why? Because it forces structure. Notes are linked like a web, not dumped in a folder. A CEO using Obsidian might load it with customer feedback, lean on it by linking patterns across markets, and leap when those patterns reveal an opening for a new product. The tool itself is not the magic. The discipline is. Without it, Obsidian is just another folder of forgotten notes.
Developers do the same with Stack Overflow. At first glance, it looks like a crutch, just a place to grab code. But for elite programmers, it becomes a reference map. They load by saving snippets and patterns. They lean by tagging and refining those snippets into reusable libraries. And when the moment comes, they leap by shipping code in hours that might have taken weeks. What looks like dependency from the outside is actually leverage when combined with skill.
And this is the deeper truth. Load, lean, and leap is not just a note-taking method. It is a mental operating system. It mirrors how the brain itself works. We absorb information, we organize it into patterns, and we act. The top 1% design their second brains to echo this natural rhythm, which is why it feels seamless. It does not replace thinking. It multiplies it.
So here is the challenge for you. Look at your current system. Your Notes app, your folders, your bookmarks. Are you just loading? Are you leaning with discipline? Are you leaping at all? If not, you are stuck in storage mode. The top 1% do not build storage units. They build springboards. In the next segment, we will show what happens when you ignore this cycle. The trap of cognitive debt. A hidden tax that can destroy clarity even when you think you are getting smarter. Every system has a shadow. For the second brain, the shadow is something we call cognitive debt. At first, it is invisible. Your notes pile up, your AI drafts multiply, your folders expand. It feels like progress. But over time, the weight of unused information slows you down. Instead of clarity, you get clutter. Instead of leverage, you get latency. Cognitive debt is the silent tax on your mind.
Here's how it works. Imagine saving every idea, every article, every screenshot. You feel productive because the vault is growing. But when you try to find one useful insight, you waste hours digging. The signal-to-noise ratio collapses. Your second brain becomes a landfill. And just like financial debt, the interest compounds. The more you store without structure, the more effort it takes to extract value later. That is why most people abandon their note systems. The weight of debt makes them useless.
The risk gets worse with AI. Large language models sound confident even when they are wrong. They can generate a report in seconds, but if you accept it at face value, you risk making decisions on false clarity. It is like building a skyscraper on sand. Strong words, weak foundation. The danger is not that AI will lie to you. The danger is that you will believe it too quickly.
And that is exactly what separates the top 1%. They stress test before they act. They use their second brain for leverage, but they never let it replace first principles. They run unaided thinking drills. They question the source of every answer. They treat AI as a sparring partner, not a final judge. Most people fall into passive trust. The elite build active skepticism into their process.
History has already shown us what happens when models go unchecked. Think of long-term capital management in the 90s. A hedge fund run by Nobel Prize winners collapsed because they trusted their mathematical models more than reality. The math looked perfect until real markets proved it fragile. That is cognitive debt at scale. Brilliant tools, but no safeguard.
Or think of 2022 and the collapse of FTX. Complex risk models, automated trading, endless dashboards. But the people running it ignored basic controls. They outsourced judgment to systems that weren't built on discipline. The result was billions erased. The lesson repeats: tools without discipline amplify failure.
Cognitive debt also shows up in everyday life. Think of GPS again. People followed it so blindly that they drove into rivers or down closed roads. The brain outsourced all judgment to the screen. It was not the map that failed. It was the overtrust in the map. The same applies now with AI and digital second brains. The tool is powerful, but if you lean too hard, you weaken the very skills you need when the tool fails.
So, how do you avoid the trap? First, recognize it. Ask yourself, is my system giving me clarity or clutter? Do I feel faster or slower? Do I question the output or blindly accept it? Awareness is the first safeguard. Then, build friction back in. Run recall drills. Debate your own notes. Use your second brain to challenge your thinking, not replace it. That is how the top 1% stay sharp while everyone else drifts into dependency.
Here is the bottom line. A second brain should amplify your intelligence, not erode it. If you are only loading, only leaning, but never testing, you are building a false edge. The kind of edge that looks sharp until the moment it fails. Cognitive debt is the hidden interest you pay for lazy thinking. The elite refuse to pay it. They design systems that keep them strong when the tools are stripped away.
And in the next segment, we will show you how. We will walk through the practices the top 1% use to keep their first brain sharp while their second brain works in the background. Reverse prompting, active recall, journaling, constraint drills. These are not tips, they are training methods, because leverage without discipline is not leverage. It is fragility waiting to be exposed. We have looked at the paradox and the trap. Now it is time for what you can do about it. The top 1% do not just build systems, they train with them. They turn their second brain into a tool that strengthens the first. And they do it with practices you can start today.
The first is reverse prompting. Most people open their AI and ask for answers. The elite flip the script. They ask the system to critique, to poke holes, to find blind spots. It is like having a sparring partner. Instead of asking, "What should I do?" you ask, "What is wrong with this plan?" Instead of asking, "Write me a report," you ask, "Where would this analysis fail?" That pressure test turns AI from a parrot into a challenger. It keeps your own thinking alive.
Picture an investor about to greenlight a deal. The average person asks AI for the upside. The top 1% ask for the downside. Where does this model break? What could kill this company? That shift alone protects millions. Reverse prompting is not just clever, it is survival.
The second practice is active recall. This is ancient. Long before second brains, the best learners used it. You close the book. You close the app. You try to remember. You force your mind to reconstruct the idea before you check your notes. Elite performers still do this today. A lawyer preparing for trial writes closing arguments from memory, then checks against their files. A founder rehearses a pitch without slides, then refines with data. Recall builds strength. It tells your brain, this knowledge matters. The second brain then becomes reinforcement, not replacement.
Think of it like weight training. Every rep strains the muscle. Recall strains memory the same way. The discomfort is the growth. People who only copy and paste never get that growth. People who recall, then refine with their second brain, hardwire the knowledge. That is why they stay sharper under pressure.
The third is journaling. Simple, but brutally effective. Top athletes do it. Investors do it. Creators do it. A private space to write forces you to process, not just capture. Journaling turns chaos into clarity. And when you combine it with a second brain, it creates a loop. You capture raw notes during the day, then you journal at night. You ask what really mattered. What patterns do I see? What did I learn? Over time, this reflection trains the first brain to stay sharp while the second brain handles storage.
Think of Serena Williams writing reflections after matches, or Ray Dalio capturing lessons after every investment. These are not diaries for nostalgia. They are training logs. They sharpen the mind that must execute tomorrow. Journaling is cheap. It is quiet, and it is one of the most powerful habits the top 1% run.
The fourth is constraint drills. The best minds train under pressure. That means presenting ideas without notes, pitching without slides, solving problems without Google. Elite teams run meetings where devices stay closed for the first 10 minutes. Everyone must argue their case from memory. This is not about rejecting technology. It is about proving to yourself that you can still perform when the tool is gone. The second brain is there to support you, but your first brain is always the driver.
Average performers hide behind slides. Elite performers can stand up, speak, and defend an idea with no props. That is why when the system fails, they shine while others freeze. Constraint drills are uncomfortable, but that is the point. Discomfort is the gym of the top 1%.
And here is the fifth practice. Teach it back. The fastest way to test clarity is to explain an idea to someone else. If you cannot teach it simply, you do not understand it. The top 1% use this constantly. Founders explain their vision to interns. Investors explain strategy to their kids. Writers explain complex systems in plain English. Every time you teach, you discover what you truly know and what you only thought you knew.
You do not even need an audience. Teach it back to your AI. Paste your notes and say, "Challenge me." Have me explain this like I am teaching a class. The act of explaining forces precision. It strengthens recall, and it transforms your second brain from storage into a mirror of your own clarity.
And that is the deeper lesson. Practices like reverse prompting, active recall, journaling, constraint drills, and teaching back are not chores. They are compounding habits. Done once, they are helpful. Done daily, they create a foundation that gets stronger every year. In 10 years, the person who has trained both brains will be unrecognizable compared to the one who only outsourced.
So here is your invitation. Do not just build a vault of notes. Do not just collect AI drafts. Install one of these practices into your week. Start small. Ask your AI to critique instead of answer. Write one page in a journal. Write one page in a journal. Run one meeting without notes. Teach one insight to a colleague. These tiny drills separate you from the crowd. They keep your first brain alive while your second brain scales.
And this is where the real edge begins. Because the paradox is not just about having a second brain. It is about designing a system that multiplies, not replaces. If you combine these practices with load, lean, and leap, you will build a second brain that does not trap you in cognitive debt. Instead, it will act like a force multiplier. That is how the top 1% use the paradox to win.
Coming up next is the challenge. We will help you pick one safeguard, run it for 30 days, and install it into your operating system. Because mindset is not about knowing. It is about training. And the compound curve only starts when you act.
Everything we have shared so far means nothing unless you act on it. Knowledge without action is just theory. The top 1% never stop at theory. They install frameworks into their daily routines until they run on autopilot. That is what separates them.
Here is how it works. You do not need all 4 practices. You do not need a perfect second brain. You need one safeguard, just one. Choose it. Run it for 30 days. At the end of that month, you will not just know the paradox, you will feel it. You will see the compound effect in your own clarity.
Option 1 is reverse prompting. Every day, take something you wrote or something AI gave you and flip it. Ask the system to critique it. Ask where it would fail. Do that once a day for 30 days. You will not just get better answers. You will train yourself to challenge every surface-level response.
Option 2 is active recall. At the end of each workday, close your notes. Write down 3 key ideas you remember. Only then check against your second brain. Do that for a month and you will train your memory to stay alive. You will notice how much sharper your thinking feels because you are not outsourcing recall completely.
Option 3 is journaling. Nothing fancy, 1 page written by hand or typed at the end of each day. Write what mattered. Write what you learned. Write what you learned. Write one pattern you saw. That single page becomes your bridge between first brain and second brain. It is the reflection loop that elite performers swear by.
Option 4 is a constraint drill. Pick one meeting or one presentation each week where you go without notes. Close the laptop. Speak from memory. At first it will feel uncomfortable, but discomfort is the signal. That tension is how you build resilience. By week 4, you will realize that your brain is sharper than you thought.
The point is not which option you pick. The point is that you pick. The second brain paradox is only useful if you live it. The challenge is simple. One practice, 30 days, no excuses. By the end, you will feel the shift. You will see how your second brain supports you instead of replacing you.
Think of it like compound interest. Each day may feel small, almost invisible. But by day 30, the habits will feel natural. By month 6, you will make decisions faster. By year 1, you will look back and wonder how you ever worked without this system. That is the curve of compounding. Quiet at first, then exponential.
So what is your move? Reverse prompting, active recall, journaling, or constraint drills? Choose it now. Write it down, commit to it, and when you finish your 30 days, share it with us. Because clarity compounds, but only for those who execute.
This is the moment that decides if you are just a listener or a builder. Most people will nod, smile, and move on. A few will act. Those few will rise into the top 1%. Which side will you choose?
Up next is our final segment, the CTAs, the disclaimer, the housekeeping, but do not let that distract you. The real end of this episode is the challenge. The rest is just logistics. Your 30 days starts now.
We opened inside the MIT Media Lab, where human imagination meets artificial intelligence. And we close with the same reminder. The second brain paradox is not about tools, it is about discipline. Outsourcing can make you sharper or weaker, and the difference is invisible habits that compound over time.
Think about it. The top 1% are not defined by talent alone. They are defined by quiet behaviors no one else sees. They question every easy answer. They run drills when no one is watching. They build systems that work even when the tools go down. That is why they stay sharp when others fade. Install it until it becomes invisible. That is how you tip the system in your favor.
And if this episode shifted how you think, share it. Subscribe to Mindset Frontier AI on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Follow us on X for elite mental models and frameworks that scale. Share it with one friend and help us hit 10,000 downloads to build the sharpest mindset community online. We cover wealth, focus, and strategic growth across 4 series, all grouped at financefrontierai.com. And if you have a founder story or a mental framework worth sharing, we may feature it in a future episode. Just head to the pitch page and submit.
And do not forget to sign up for the 10x Edge. It is our weekly newsletter packed with billionaire habits, AI productivity tools, and top-tier mindset strategies for exponential success. Only at financefrontierai.com. This podcast is for educational purposes only. It is not personal advice. Always do your own research and consult qualified professionals before applying any strategy.
Mindset evolves. Pressure compounds. And even the best systems fail without execution. Treat every insight like a test. Run it, refine it, and make it yours.
Music in this episode, including our intro and outro track, Dreaming on Instrumental by Nefex, is licensed under the YouTube Audio Library license. Full details can be found in the episode description.
Copyright 2025 Finance Frontier AI. All rights reserved. Reproduction or redistribution of this content without written permission is strictly prohibited.